Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the most grueling, absolutely fascinating supply chains in human history. We are looking at a textile that's been engineered for over 10,000 years, taking this stubborn, reedy plant and transforming it into the world's most luxurious fabric. I'm talking, of course, about linen. Okay, let's dive right in. Here's our agenda. We're going to cover cultivating the flax plant, the fiber extraction process, spinning and weaving mechanics, a comparison to cotton, and finally, global trade and economics. All right, Section 1, Cultivating the Flax Plant. The agronomy of Linum usatitissimum, which, fun fact, literally translates to the most useful plant. What is absolutely wild here is the sheer speed of this agricultural cycle. From the second those tiny, flat flax seeds are shallowly sown in the spring, it is a race. They're planted incredibly densely. Why? Because that forces the stalks to grow straight up, reaching for the sun without branching out. By around day 78, the whole field erupts into bloom. But those iconic blue flowers, they literally only last for a single day. And right around day 100, the critical harvest window officially opens. It's a pretty stunning mental image, right? Just picture endless, cool, humid fields in Western Europe, rippling with delicate blue flowers swaying in the wind. But hey, don't let the idyllic scenery fool you. What follows this peaceful blooming phase is an incredibly arduous, mechanically intense process just to tear the useful fibers right out of that serene landscape. Now, here's the kicker about how this harvest actually goes down. You don't cut flax, you pull it. The premium bast fibers that we need for high-end linen run the entire length of the plant, all the way down into the shallow root system. So by using specialized pulling machines to uproot the whole plant intact, farmers maximize that precious fiber length. Plus, it leaves the field beautifully clear of residual roots, naturally prepping the soil for whatever crop comes next. Moving right along to Section 2, the fiber extraction process, biochemical and mechanical breakdown. So we have our pulled plants. But now we face a massive problem. How on earth do we separate the soft, luxurious fiber from the rigid, woody stalk? Step 1 to solving that is a fascinating process called retting, which is, essentially controlled rotting. And it's exactly as wonderfully fragrant as it sounds. You're letting naturally occurring microorganisms literally eat the pectins. Those pectins act like a natural glue, binding the fiber to the woody core. There are two main ways to do this. Dew retting, where the flax is laid out in fields for weeks to absorb natural rain and morning dew, which is super sustainable. Then there's water retting, where bundles are submerged in rivers or tanks. Now, water retting is way faster, but historically, it caused massive ecological damage. In Ireland, for instance, water retting deoxygenated waterways and killed so many fish that it essentially forced the linen sourcing industry right out of the country and over to mainland Europe. Okay, once retting weakens those chemical bonds, we hit an intense mechanical sequence. First is breaking. The dried stalks are fed through fluted metal rollers that literally crush and shatter the inner woody core into tiny fragments called shivs. The flexible outer fibers just bend, they don't snap. Second is scutching. This is where blunt wooden or metal turbine blades violently beat the straw to scrape away the remaining woody debris. And finally, hackling. The fibers are repeatedly dragged through beds of sharp, ever finer iron nails to comb out all the impurities and get those strands perfectly parallel. It is honestly a visually brutal transformation. We take this delicate, dusty, dried plant and we crush, beat, and comb it through heavy iron machinery until it finally yields clean, refined, lustrous fibers that are ready for the spinning mill. And this is where you really see the zero-waste genius of the flax industry. During that intense hackling process, the fibers are separated into two distinct camps. The long, continuous premium fibers that survive the combing are called line flax. This is the good stuff, what makes your high-end, smooth luxury apparel. The shorter, tangled fibers that get combed out are called tow flax. But nothing is thrown away here. The tow is simply gathered and spun into coarser, heavy-duty materials like canvas, upholstery, or even rope. All right, Section 3, Spinning and Weaving Mechanics. Engineering the thread. We've extracted our fiber, but now we've got to engineer it into yarn and fabric. Since linen fibers vary so much in length and have basically zero natural elasticity, the spinning process is highly specialized. For the highest quality apparel, mills use wet spinning. The fibers pass through a hot water bath right before being stretched and twisted. This makes for an incredibly smooth, fine, and lustrous yarn.
Dry spinning, on the other hand, totally skips the water. It's cheaper for sure, but it gives you a coarser, hairy, highly textured yarn that's much better suited for rustic home goods or industrial textiles.
And that hot water bath in wet spinning? It's not just warm tap water. We're talking a precise calibration between 60 and 70 degrees Celsius. This specific thermal treatment is exactly what it takes to melt the remaining natural pectins holding the microfibers together. It allows the machinery to stretch or draft the yarn to an unbelievably fine degree before the pectin cools down and sets the thread's strength.
But here's the crazy part. Even the absolute finest linen yarn is a massive headache at the weaving stage. Linen has almost zero natural stretch, so on modern high-speed projectile looms, even a tiny bit of uneven tension will just instantly snap those warp threads. The solution? Mills literally have to constantly mist the air to maintain super high humidity inside the weaving sheds. It turns out the natural pectins in the flax fiber actually become stronger and a lot more flexible when they're wet, which is the only way the yarn survives the brutal, rapid friction of the loom.
Once it's finally woven, we have what's called graze fabric. It's stiff, rough, and kind of a natural tan color. To get that luxurious drape we all love, it has to undergo rigorous finishing. European mills will use hydrogen peroxide instead of toxic chlorine for bleaching. They piece dye it for solid colors or yarn dye it for intricate patterns. And to soften up that stiff weave, they might stonewash it with literal pumice stones or treat it with eco-friendly natural enzymes that eat away the protruding microfibers. The end result is that glossy, smooth finish.
Section 4. Linen compared to cotton, the ultimate technical matchup. We've seen exactly how it's made, but how does this bast fiber compare to the world's absolute most ubiquitous fabric, cotton?
Let's look at the numbers here. Linen's elongation, basically how much it stretches before breaking, is a tiny 2.7 to 3.5%. Cotton stretches almost twice as much. This is exactly why linen feels so crisp and structured, and yeah, why it wrinkles so famously. But check out moisture regain. Linen can hold 10 to 12% of its weight in moisture without actually feeling wet to the touch. Combine that with a higher specific gravity, which just means it's a denser fiber, and you have the literal scientific reason why linen is an incredible heat conductor. It's why it feels so distinctly cool against your skin on a hot summer day.
And performance aside, check out this environmental reality. Cultivating flax for linen uses up to 4 times less water than cotton per kilogram of fiber produced. 4 times! It requires fewer pesticides, it thrives on natural rainfall instead of intense irrigation, and as we saw earlier, it leaves literally zero waste behind.
And that brings us to Section 5, Global Trade and Economics, the financial landscape of flax. So how does all this intensive agricultural and mechanical effort translate into the actual global economy?
Well, it all starts with what is basically a geographical monopoly. An unbelievable 80% of the world's high-quality textile flax is grown in a very specific coastal band of Western Europe, mainly France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. The unique, cool, moist, oceanic climate over there, paired with literally centuries of specialized farming expertise, simply cannot be replicated anywhere else on the planet.
The European Union actively protects this heritage, rolling out eco-schemes and agricultural subsidies to back sustainable flax farming. But while the raw material grows almost exclusively in Europe, the global supply chain is absolutely massive. The scutched and hackled fibers are constantly exported to huge, high-tech spinning and weaving centers in countries like China and Vietnam. That's where the highly labor-intensive garment construction happens before everything is shipped out to consumers worldwide.
Which brings us to my final question for you today. We've walked through this wild 100-day race against the sun, the literal uprooting of plants, the microbial decay, the violent crushing and combing machinery, and the climate-controlled engineering required just to weave a single thread without snapping it. When you really stop and look at the sheer scale of effort, the expertise, and the time required to make one single shirt, is premium linen actually underpriced? It's definitely something to chew on the next time you feel that cool, crisp fabric. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.